Mic check. Good afternoon, everyone. Come on, we can do better than that. Good afternoon, right? This is still day one. Day two is when you can get sleepy after lunch. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you all very much for having me here. It's a real honor for me to be here. And I just want to say, first and foremost, a special shout out and thank you to Executive Director Cindy McCain. This event is a real testament to the legacy and the incredible impact that you and your family have had not only on America, but also on the world. So let's just give the McCains a quick round of applause, if you don't mind, for all their work and leadership. All right, so like many of you, there you are, dear. I didn't see you in the front row, of course. I've traveled the world, and I've witnessed the absolutely remarkable innovations that are reshaping food and agriculture today. In country after country, farmers around the world are doing more and more with less. They're boosting yields, raising quality, and harnessing the land in new, smarter, and more innovative ways. I've walked rice paddies in Vietnam, palm plantations in Indonesia, date farms in Morocco, coffee groves in Guatemala, blueberry fields in Maine. I've seen the bounty of Tokyo's fish market, the sweeping cattle ranches of Nebraska, and I've seen Kenyan farmers raising their chickens with tremendous pride. I've tasted the golden sweetness of Taiwanese pineapple, the fresh juice of a Jaffa orange, and the fiery kick of a Tabasco pepper. Yet in spite of all of these advances, far too many people today in this world cannot get the calories and the nutrition their bodies need to thrive. That painful gap is exactly why I've spent my career at the intersection of agriculture, trade, and global development. Work that just last month led to my nomination to be executive director of the World Food Program. And Cindy, you have an extraordinarily high bar to reach, so whoever follows you has very big shoes to fill. I'm honored to have a chance to be considered for that. Listen, we live in an age of breathtaking connection today. Cultures, cuisines, conversations, they all cross borders daily. Families travel abroad with their children at new and rates we've never seen to explore new worlds across the globe. International trade has left the business school classroom, and today it has reached the kitchen table. Yet in the midst of this unprecedented engagement, some are claiming that America is pulling back from the world. And I'm here to tell you today, and I think you just heard this on the panel right before this, that America first has never meant America alone. And I think one of the stats that stuck out for me from the prior panel was that 80% of Republicans, for example, support U.S. engagement overseas in pretty distinct and important ways. But also last week, a Council on Foreign Relations study said that Americans want the United States to be engaged but not entangled. They want foreign policy that is principled but modest. And they understand that first and foremost, foreign policy begins here at home. That is the strategy we are executing at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Smart, results-driven partnerships that save lives abroad, build self-reliance, and strengthen security and prosperity. I've made it my personal mission at USDA to align our emergency assistance, developmental programs, and trade tools so they can hit harder together. Our Food for Peace, Food for Progress, McGovern-Dole, and our trade promotion programs now work as one integrated strategy, creating win-win opportunities for our partners abroad and for our American farmers and ranchers here at home. Let me tell you exactly how this works. I'm going to use Guatemala as a case study for a couple quick points here. The first point is that around the world, conflict, extreme weather, and disease are all driving hunger higher worldwide. Emergency needs are growing, even with the historic work of and heroic work of both Executive Director McCain and Deputy Director Carl Scow, who's here with us as well today, and the colleagues at the World Food Program who show up each and every day to perform a vital task around the world. And USDA in Guatemala is answering the call. We just directed Food for Peace resources to reach roughly 115,000 Guatemalans facing acute hunger that need to be fed today. Cannot wait. People cannot climb towards self-reliance on empty stomachs. Urgent aid is the essential first step towards prosperity. The second thing we're trying to do is once families do get fed, that is when they can work and begin to produce. And that's where our Food for Progress program comes in, where that program specifically supports economic development and food system development in developing countries. We invest in better farming practices, stronger supply chains, and more efficient markets. And in Guatemala, we're in the business right now of working with the Guatemalans to upgrade their port operations and their food inspection systems. Inspection times have already dropped dramatically, and that means that both the food aid gets in faster when it's needed, but it also means that the Guatemalans can get their coffee and their spices and their citrus to markets faster, including in places like the United States of America. And I will tell you, I'm a personal consumer of all of those products, and I love to have coffee in the morning. So we want to make sure that that actually happens in a fair and efficient process, and it's been good to work with the Guatemalans on that. But the thing is, we didn't just stop at food assistance and development. We took the next step to develop a trade agreement with Guatemala to expand economic opportunities for both countries. Earlier this year, I led a delegation of U.S. agribusinesses to Guatemala to expand these trade opportunities. And the results are that we have now been feeding hungry bellies, developing farming practices, and now growing a trade relationship and partnership that is going to be materially impactful for the Guatemalan economy. I think that is a win-win-win arrangement. And it's that strategic alignment that we're focused on. So when I hear people say that America's retreating, I actually point to the facts. We have strategically aligned our emergency food assistance, our long-term development, and our trade promotion into a single, powerful strategy. That's not withdrawal. That is smart, sustained engagement, and the results speak for themselves. In Vietnam, our combined development and trade activities have boosted food security and doubled our bilateral trade. In Kenya, we moved from just feeding refugees at Kakuma camp to helping the country graduate from our McGovern Dole program, and now Kenya feeds its own school children and is buying U.S. sorghum on the open market. The same story is playing out in Indonesia, Malaysia, El Salvador. Short-term needs met, long-term productivity rising. I have personally led trade missions to each of these countries and nearly a dozen more in the last several years, all with the intent on reciprocal win-win partnerships. Let me be clear, food security is national security. I've said it before and I'll say it again, farmers don't just grow crops, farmers grow freedom. The United States remains committed to this cause, not by imposing our views or our solutions, but by building real partnerships. Not because we have all the answers, but because we show up ready to work alongside others. And not because it's easy, but because it's right. Guatemala is one example. There are many more, and I look forward to expanding upon that during the fireside chat with our moderator. It's now my great honor to welcome my friend Julie Borlaug, whose family has contributed more to this mission than perhaps any other in the history of the world. So Julie, please come up and join me, and thank you all very much for having me today.
I want to say that, thank you. I want to say that first that it's an honor to be here, and to the McCain family. I understand the importance of continuing legacies, and you were doing a phenomenal job. And then to both of our World Food Program directors, it is an honor to have both of you here. I had the opportunity to be at the World Food Program when Josette was there, so it is a life-changing experience. Yeah. Well, what you've done is amazing. We're going to have a little fun with Luke today. Luke, I have a question. I think a lot of people in this room want to know, how did you get interested in food security?
Great question. So again, thank you all for having me. Fun to be here. Let's definitely have some fun. Let's open this up. I think the benefit of a fireside chat is it can be chummy and kind of engaging. So happy to do that. Listen, when I started my career, I had the opportunity to work for a healthcare system that was building its operations and partnerships around the world. And it was focused on supporting women and children in delivering primary care models in new and innovative ways. It was a private sector-led organization, and so non-government funded. And one of the projects I worked on was building about 30 healthcare clinics in the country of Ghana, Africa. And we were on the ground. We had 300 Ghanaians that worked on our team and just a handful of American private sector individuals helping set the clinical protocols and make sure that we were improving care operations in Ghana. And so really valued that experience in learning the development side of things on the ground in an innovative and private sector driven manner. The story goes on, and I did a lot of international trade activities in my career and kind of pivoted and got sidetracked from the development side of things for a number of years. But I remember the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition brought me to Kenya a number of years ago and took us to the Kakuma refugee camp. And the moment for me was the moment that I walked through the line and saw the father hold up the bucket of sorghum, it was about 2/3 full, and say, "This is my monthly ration for me and my beautiful family." And they were all standing right behind him. And I'll never forget that moment. And after that, we went into the malnutrition children's ward at the hospital there. And I've never been able to get those images out of my head. And my desire to get back in the game of helping people in new and different ways is the raison d'etre for why I said yes when the president called me and asked me to step into this candidacy.
Well, that is a wonderful story. So you've worked across government, trade, and development. What was your defining moment when you realized that food security is more than agriculture policy?
Agriculture policy. I think our farmers across the world do an incredible job. And if you go talk to our farmers, and I do this all the time, I was just actually in Maricopa County yesterday, met with the Arizona Farm Bureau and a number of fourth, fifth generation owned family farms. And if you talk to these folks, they have a real passion for food security around the world. You know, whether it's a religious calling or just a desire to see people get fed, I think farmers wake up in the morning and think, I'm making a real difference in the world, whether it's going to the grocery store shelves or it's going to a refugee camp. And so for me, actually, the moment that I realized agriculture policy is bigger than what it is just in terms of how we farm products was just hearing the passion of our family farms around the country and talking to them and being able to hear directly from them, from folks in Kansas and my great state of South Dakota. You know, one of the greatest honors for me in having a chance to potentially try to fill Executive Director McCain's shoes here is that the World Food Program was originally conceived by a group of folks, but one of them was Senator George McGovern from the great state of South Dakota, and that's my home state. And having an opportunity to continue his legacy, I just think this has been a farmer-driven process for a long, long time, and for me to have a chance to play a role in that is really an incredible thing.
I've had the opportunity to work internationally with smallholder farmers, and I understand the importance of bringing an understanding of their culture and listening and what they need. So you've worked on partnerships and policy. How do you see that working?
Well, I think, again, even going back to my days in Ghana, there's always ways that you can work together with the public sector, the private sector, the nonprofit and NGO communities to make things better. I don't pretend that anybody has the perfect solution to any problem out there. If there was an easy button, people would have already pushed it, right? So that's why it wouldn't be a problem anymore. It would be not something we needed to solve. And so I even think about, when it comes to the World Food Program, that last mile of delivery, for example. Oftentimes, the World Food Program's greatest skill is that it is the supply chain powerhouse. Knows how to get things to places and has the ability to do that in ways that no other organization globally does. But working with local partners at the last mile or other people that may have cultural or strategic advantage there, great opportunities, right? I mean, you can drive anywhere in the world just about, and you're probably going to find one product on the shelf no matter where you're at, whether it's in a remote village in Ethiopia or Ghana or whether it's in South Dakota or Washington, D.C. And that's a bottle of Coca-Cola, right? And so the Coca-Cola supply chain and their ability to get product on shelves is second to none around the world. And so how can we look at ways to partner and build trust and relationships? At the end of the day, the goal is to feed hungry people. And so we need all kinds to get that done.
I have to add Pringles as well. I don't know why, but you can find Pringles anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter how rural.
I love it.
So we have a lot of people who may not be familiar with all of our acronyms in agriculture and some of our policies. Okay. So let's talk about what is Food for Peace, what is Food for Progress, and what is the McGovern-Dole program?
Sure. So we now oversee all three these programs at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The Food for Peace program is really the 800-pound gorilla in the room for us with respect to food assistance. So this is the program that we go and work with organizations like the World Food Program to deliver food assistance around the world. Congress gives us a bucket of money, and it's the largest of the three programs and has the most ability to directly contribute to solving the acute hunger challenges we face today. The Food for Progress program takes American commodities, goes in country and sells those commodities, and then takes the proceeds of those commodities and actually contributes to the overall economic development of farming practices in that market. And so the goal is to make the farmers better in that specific country. That's the development work that we do. And then the McGovern-Dole program, or as I was recently meeting with a fine member of the Kansas delegation who told me that it's actually the Dole-McGovern program, of which I think in statute it's actually the McGovern-Dole program, and I'm a South Dakotan, so I'm supposed to say that because he's from my home state, and we had back and forth on this a little bit. But the McGovern-Dole program is designed to do the same thing. Take American commodities, sell them in the market, use the proceeds to feed school children that need to be fed. And again, no greater opportunity in the world than to feed hungry children in particular.
So when these three programs are working together, what is the success? Why does it make a difference?
Well, we're buying a lot of commodities through these programs from the United States, and we're shipping them around the world. And the more that we can buy together on commodities and ship, we can get efficiencies in that, right? Size and scale matters in this business. We also can work with great implementing partners, like the World Food Program, for example, who implement our McGovern-Dole programs, as well as the Food for Peace funding that we've recently directed to 7 new countries through the World Food Program. So that's sort of one contract for us to manage, so to speak, or one relationship for us to manage. So the more that we can strategically align these things, the more we can cut costs on the operational sides, see better results, and still actually deliver on the core mission of what we're trying to accomplish.
So you said 7 countries.
Yes.
Can you name a few? I'm throwing this at him. We didn't talk about this. And explain to everyone why those countries were chosen.
Yeah. So we did. So Guatemala is an example of one. El Salvador, which I recently went to. Ethiopia being another one. Kenya being another one that we're focusing on. Look, in any resource-limited environment, which is inherent in this, right? I think the World Food Program has a number out there of how much we need to actually deliver on the full-scale scope of feeding all the acute hunger around the world and where their budget's at today, and there's a gap there. So we're operating in a resource-constrained environment. Leaders have to make tough decisions about where to spend those resources that are going to make the biggest impact. Also, there's a speed and efficiency component to it. And so this was our first USDA-delivered Food for Peace program dollars since the program had been previously transitioned to USAID. So we received these funds back at USDA this past year, and my goal was we were sitting on a significant amount of U.S. taxpayer dollars that were supposed to go to feed hungry people around the world. So we got together with the World Food Program team. This was before I was nominated, by the way, just to be clear on that, and made sure that we spoke with them. We talked to our posts, we call them around the world. So USDA has staff in 90 embassies around the world about where there were needs that they had identified. And we came up with 7 countries that we knew needed food. We could get it done. The World Food Program team had existing capacity in those markets. They could take on U.S. commodities to make this happen. And so we quickly put together and sole sourced the World Food Program $452 million worth of resources to help support these 7 countries. And that was, again, based around a combination of strategic need, operational capacity on the ground, and sort of general kind of construct around how we could get things moving quickly to those markets. There's more resources coming. In fact, there'll be a new opportunity for more folks to get involved in that Food for Peace program shortly. That'll be going public. But this was our first and really strategic attempt to get dollars out the door and start getting hungry bellies fed.
Great. I want to turn to a subject that is important to me because of my grandfather, and that's the role of conflict and how that creates hunger and poverty and migration. And you see it right now, we can say in the Ukraine, we had to worry about wheat getting to northern Africa. So conflict beyond the region you're in has an effect on hunger. Where do you see right now the trajectory of all of this? And what are your biggest concerns?
Well, I think Executive Director McCain could tell you very clearly that, in fact, hunger is increasing while resources are decreasing. And that's a challenging environment to operate in, first and foremost. So the reality is we have to do more with less. And we have to figure out how to best serve the nations that are in the most severe situations to make sure that they're taken care of. You know, a couple weeks after the 20-point peace plan was signed in Gaza, I was on the ground at the World Food Program distribution site there and toward the Ashdod port. We knew that was going to be a flashpoint and a real severe situation. And today they're still classified as being famine there. So that's an important component. But we, you know, the war rages in Sudan and South Sudan. There's not enough resources going in there. We know Yemen right now is experiencing famine as well. And so there are a lot of challenges in the world. The challenge is not identifying where there are challenges. The challenge is really on marshaling the resources and the collective will to be able to address those challenges.
I'm glad you brought up the collective will because I think that is a problem. And I'm just going to do an advertisement. Famine is man-made. We produce enough food. We have a problem getting it there. It doesn't matter if it's the roads, the policies, it is man-made. So as you said, having leaders who want to see a change is really important. And I think we're seeing more. And especially in Africa, we have a lot more who are leaning into their farmers and providing more funding. I see students in the room, and I want to thank you all for being here. I am a Texas Aggie. My son just went and looked at ASU. He is now no longer applying to Texas A&M. He is going to ASU. Well, he's got to get in. He's a junior. He's got to get in. He needs to bring his grades up a little. And ironically, ASU is playing Texas A&M this year at Texas A&M, and here I am with a ASU program. So I guess three things, maybe he will get in. I've got to bring a lot of shirts home this weekend. But it's so great to have you here. And what would you tell? I'm going to call you the next generation. I'm a political science international studies major. I never went over to the agriculture side at Texas A&M. We like to say, my brother and sister, that we just don't want to outdo my grandfather. But I got the opportunity to come back to Texas A&M and work at the Borlaug Institute for International Agriculture. And it was through my work in fundraising and nonprofit. And to me, there's no cause greater than a child who's born into hunger. And it was such a great opportunity. And if my grandfather was alive now, and I wish he was, to hear me talk about gene editing and economics and all of this, it's really, once you get into it, you understand that agriculture affects everything we're talking about in this room. So what would your advice be to students?
Well, my always advice to students is the greatest thing somebody once said to me was, Luke, you're driven but not competitive. You are driven but not competitive. And I think that's the story of farmers around the world as well. You got to be a special blend of crazy to wake up in the morning and want to till the soil every day and work hard. And if you're a dairyman or dairywoman, the cow's got to get milked every day. Every single day. There's no breaks. And those folks are some of the most driven individuals I know, and that's what I aspire to be, is to wake up every morning and have that self-desire to want to go out and help solve problems in the world. That's something that you need to cultivate in yourself. But you need to do it in a way where you're lifting other people up and you're supporting those around you, your fellow students, your colleagues, the partners, all of those. I mean, There is no way for us to solve the acute hunger challenges of today if we don't do it together. America can't bear the burden alone. No country can. No region can. It has got to be a collective approach. We need the Europeans. We need the Asians. We need all of the various folks working together, because that's the type of resource that is unstoppable. The world wants to get separated and wants to pick winners and losers. But that's not how I've operated my career, and I know that's how you can be successful. You want to find ways to be collaborative and be approachable. And so be driven, but don't be competitive.
My last advice for you is you have a room full of some amazing people. Go speak to them. Let them become a mentor of yours. That'll change the world. And then when you're at my age, go be a mentor to someone else and pay it forward. Amen. And I'll stop there.
That's great.
So you just talked about how we have to do it together. And in agriculture, sometimes we've been a little siloed. We like our acronyms. We like everyone in the room just to be in agriculture. Often we never have a farmer in the room. But everything's different now. We're in a different world, and we've got to change the way we do assistance. And when we do public-private partnerships, there has to be a mission connection. And philanthropy is changing. So where do you see that opportunity?
Well, what I think first and foremost, if I could step back just a second and really clearly say is, in order for you to be able to execute on the public-private partnership models and all of these different things, you have to have a workforce that believes in the mission and the cause. And that's one of the greatest strengths of the World Food Program, is the mission-driven staff every day that wake up around the world and have that drive also to be successful and go and do this. The story that I often tell is that my friend is a very successful businessman, owns a family business. He calls his headquarter office the field support office. The field support office, that's the headquarters. Most people call it the headquarters, right? And they issue the orders and people go out and do them. But he has changed his mentality towards, we're here to support the field. And that's the type of leadership that I would want to engage in, and I know that Executive Director McCain has as well, at the World Food Program. And that's where I see a lot of these partnerships start to become a reality. We're not going to dream up the best partnerships at headquarters. I mean, we can interact with folks and big donors and big businesses and organizations that might be able to resource us effectively. But oftentimes, the best partnerships are the ones that happen in country, on the ground, at the point of delivery. And I know that because we have agricultural attaches right now in my role at U.S. Department of Agriculture in 90 countries around the world. And most of the best ideas that have come to my desk have been generated by somebody in the country who's interacting with the buyers who want to buy American ag products. They don't come out of my Chief of Staff, Riley Padgett, who's here with me today. Riley is terrific, by the way, and a wonderful human being and has lots of great ideas. But that's not where the source of most of these partnership opportunities come from. It's really the teams on the ground. And so I think for me, thinking about things a little bit differently than expecting that leadership is going to come up with and drive these opportunities, and really engaging the field to make sure that these are ground up and that they're going to work and not be something that we try to do and doesn't actually result in real change or benefit.
And when you bring the in-country conversation, and I know Ambassador McCain and Josette have dealt with this, and you and I talked about this, there are a lot of good ideas that come.
There are.
And I would love for you to share you and I talked about the solar powered.
Yes.
So can you explain why understanding the culture and where you are and the reality is just as important as the great idea?
It is, and I'll never forget this. So when I was visiting the Kakuma refugee camp, right outside of the hospital, I asked how they were powered, and so the folks took me out behind the hospital and showed me a field full of solar panels. American-made solar panels. Maybe they were Chinese-made, I'm not sure. But they were solar panels, and they weren't working. And I asked why they weren't working. And they said, well, some donor group came here and installed these solar panels and didn't teach anybody how to actually operationalize them or how to fix them when they broke.
Or where the parts were.
So they were sitting there, supposed to be providing electricity and stable backup power to the hospital, and they were broken. And there was nobody there that could fix them. And so I'll never forget that you have to have the follow-through and actually know culturally where the gaps are when you're trying to do humanitarian work to make sure that efforts are not done in vain and that they actually get followed through on and the real results get delivered.
Thank you for that. I want to turn to the World Food Program. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
At this, we're excited, well, fingers crossed. So let's talk about what you would do on your first day.
So I have a few ideas. I'm a big believer, first and foremost, in making sure that any new leader in an organization comes in and really hears from stakeholders and staff and donor countries, board members, all of the various constituencies before they make strategic, big picture decision making that is altering of the organization. So I did the same thing at U.S. Department of Agriculture. When I came in, I had an 8-month Senate confirmation period, which gave me lots of time to go talk to farming groups and talk to farmers about what they needed and all kinds of different stakeholders. I came in conceptually in my mind with a 5-point plan to help execute on opportunities for U.S. farmers to sell their products all over the world. And after talking with staff and stakeholders, that 5-point plan miraculously became a 3-point plan. And that 3-point plan was targeted and was doable and has made a tremendous difference. We have seen real results because of the 3-point plan we put out. The 5-point plan wasn't going to work. And so first and foremost, I want to make sure I get in and talk with the team and meet with folks that can help advise me on what the right decision making is. But some buckets of things I'm thinking about, first and foremost, the World Food Program's mission is really not that complicated. Feed people. Feed people. I mean, there's other elements and aspects, and we can get easily distracted or easily the circumstances can overcome the core mission focus of feeding people. And so I want to make sure that when I come in, everything we do is focused on feeding people. The second component is operational excellence. I think the team has done an incredible job of working in a very resource-constrained environment, but every day you have to be focused on operational excellence and making sure you get better every single day. There are new tools that are coming out with artificial intelligence and with all kinds of things that can directly impact WFP's ability to improve and enhance their supply chain. It's already one of the best in the business, but we need to continue to get better and better and better, particularly given the fact that we're in a resource-constrained environment, right? And the third is deepening donor relationships. So there's a private sector side of that where we need more private sector engagement in WFP. We always have needed that. Everybody wants more of that. There's no ceiling on that, right? We can continue to push that. But we also have certain countries and markets around the world that aren't pulling their weight. Some that are doing great, some that are doing okay, and others that really haven't stepped up to the plate yet. And so my focus will be on helping build those partnerships, helping deepen the donor partnerships, and make sure that they recognize the value that we're doing so that we can be resourced effectively.
You kind of just answered my question about what would success look in in 1 year. So what I want to know is, what would success look with your team? What do you hope to project to them and have them bring to you and foresee?
Thank you. Great question. And I've thought a lot about this, particularly on the team front, because there's been a reorganization that's had to happen, and there's been, in a resource-constrained environment, some tough decisions have had to be made. And so I want the team, if I could look them all in the eye or send this message to them, to just say, we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate what you're doing. You're working in impossible environments. You're facing impossible odds. You're trying to do things that nobody else in the world are trying to do in dangerous situations, and we recognize and want to just say thank you. Like, to me, that's the first and foremost message that I want to send to the World Food Program staff all around the world. I know that Carl and Cindy have been saying the same things, and should I have the chance to serve in this capacity, my first message to the team will be a thank you note.
I've had the honor, because of Josette, to see the wall of those who have given their life at the WFP. So it is, and it really brings to you what these people are doing and how much they care. So when we think about the U.S., sometimes we're not as engaged into international. Why does anybody in this audience need to worry about South Sudan or any other part of the world? So let's use South Sudan right now, because you brought it up, and it is such a crisis. Why should the U.S. be cared? Why should the everyday American worry about this?
Well, I think it's very clear because to me, again, going back to our national security from a U.S. perspective, is built upon the peace and stability of other countries around the world. When there's peace and there's stability around the world, there's less national security threats at home for us. Very clear. Like, I think there's a lot of linkages, and you've heard this all throughout this conference. You'll continue to hear this. Peace and stability around the world yields more prosperity and more peace and stability at home. And so the direct linkage there, I think, is first and foremost why folks at home should care about this. But again, I don't think that's missing. I think there are lots of people, and you heard this in the power, 80% of the term she used, not my term, MAGA Republicans, want the U.S. to be engaged around the world. And I think that the same thing is across the entire spectrum. In the Council on Foreign Relations report that I mentioned earlier, there is a majority of Americans that want us to be engaged in strategic and important ways around the world, which includes humanitarian assistance and stability operations.
So what is the biggest opportunity we're missing right now? I mean, there's a lot, but what would you
From a World Food Program perspective or from a U.S.?
Let's do both. We're off script.
Off script, yeah. Look, I think that the U.S. is really taking a concerted look at the exact data that I talked about in that Council on Foreign Relations study, which is that the folks in the United States, we need to match our foreign policy with where the people are at. And I think that the U.S. government is trying to do that as best we can. And that is really, we want to be engaged but not entangled, right? I think that was a key takeaway from that Council on Foreign Relations study that was an impact to me. And a modest but engaged foreign policy. And so we have to in a democracy, you have to match the will of the people. And so I think that that's what's been going on over the past year. I wouldn't pretend to tell you at this point what the biggest opportunity is for the World Food Program, because again, I'm not in those rooms with the data and intelligence that exists. But I don't think it's a challenge finding the challenges. It's really the challenge is meeting the need. And so I don't know that there's a discrepancy on what I might say about where the biggest needs are around the world or what those opportunities look like.
I'm going to talk about one of the biggest opportunities at the World Food Program for the students. I didn't get this, the Young Professional Program. I can't explain it all to you. We have 3 experts in the room and maybe more, but there are so many opportunities for you all to learn about this and make a difference, whether it's with agriculture and food security or any of the other programs. So definitely look into that. It has been great speaking with you. I think we can all see that he brings some energy to what he's doing, and it's been an honor to get to talk to you. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to say that, again, thank you to the McCain family for your legacy. It's a real testament, and it would be an honor for me to walk in your shoes. I'm ready to run. I mean, that's my point at the end of the day here is there is a real need out there. And you mentioned energy, I'm ready to run hard. If you look at my tenure at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I've led a dozen trade missions here to markets around the world in the last 6 months. We are ready to go. The U.S. is ready to support my nomination and my candidacy for this. The President of the United States personally called me to ask me to step in to be the candidate for the World Food Program. And so we're ready to step up and make a significant contribution to ending acute hunger around the world, and it's an honor for me to have a chance to be our nominee to do that. So thank you again.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, again, to the students, why has 2 agriculture programs, food security programs, won the Nobel Peace Prize? 50 years apart. So we want to see food security win another one, and we're going to give that to you so you can solve all of these. But again, thank you all. Please ask us all questions. If you're sitting next to me on an airplane, you are going to know about food security. So again, again, thank you for listening to us. And you're going to be here a little longer, right?
Yes, we'll be here for the reception.
He will be happy to answer more questions. Thank you.
Thank you all.